Welcome to the Midnight Mews. Unpopular opinion time. I liked the Green Lantern movie. Okay, it wasn't great, but I do think the critics were a little hard on it. Seriously, people just tore it apart like it was as bad as Batman and Robin. I know one guy who actually walked out. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it was that bad. It's not brilliant. What do you really want from a hero with such silly powers? We're talking about a guy who uses a magic space ring to conjure giant hands to punch people. And you knew this going in. And yet, for some reason, audiences were apparently expecting the gritty realism of The Dark Knight. Now, Green Lantern has never been one of my favorite superheroes. I've never liked the wish it and it will happen nature of his powers. It's too much of a deus ex machina. When you have a character that powerful, writers just don't have to work as hard. Heck, I don't even like the color green. So admittedly, my expectations of the movie were low and therefore easily met. So for what it's worth, I thought the movie was a lot of fun. Some of the reviewers complained about the special effects, but I thought they were beautiful for the time. There were a couple of examples of special effects failure. Some of the Guardians of Oa looked like they were rendered on a PlayStation 2, and Hal's head seemed to change size now and then compared to the size of his costume. But overall, I liked the look of the film. I recognized a lot of the other lanterns from the comics and cartoons, and I was very impressed at how realistically they were able to render characters that looked impossibly silly in other media. Yeah, I know it hasn't really aged well now, but I thought it was really pretty at the time. I love Green Lantern's outfit. I know it was the subject of a lot of internet backlash when it was first revealed, but I think the end product was great. I loved how it seemed so alive, with little light pulses constantly running through the lines of the outfit, almost reminiscent of Tron. Seriously, if any character should be able to get away with a CGI costume, it's Green Lantern. His suit is a manifestation of his light powers, and therefore they should be all glowy and unconvincing. In my opinion, this is the outfit he always should have had in the comics. I think Ryan Reynolds was perfectly cast. Some people don't like how he played the same immature jerk he always plays, but I personally believe that's how Hal Jordan is meant to be played. In the golden age of comics, a man without fear meant some square-jawed Boy Scout with a one-dimensional personality. But in the more realistic modern age, fearlessness means you're too cocky and smug to be afraid when you should be. I was particularly impressed with Sinestro. Everything about him, down to the most subtle facial expressions, was spot on with how I'd always pictured him. I am a little disappointed, however, that they still called him Sinestro. Guardians, seriously, y'all are supposed to be some of the wisest creatures in the universe, but his name is Sinestro. You didn't see it coming? I was kind of hoping they would call him something else at first, and then he would rename himself Sinestro once he got the yellow ring, or at the very least, maybe they would give him a bit of a backstory explaining how his name came to be. I also wish they'd gone ahead and made Sinestro the villain instead of saving it for the sequel. You know, a sequel that'll never happen. I think it would have been a much better movie overall. That scientist who was possessed by parallax, he did not make a good villain. But let's be honest, the Marvel movies are full of terrible villains, and we love that series anyway. Most of the MCU villains are either dull and forgettable, or evil versions of the good guy, or both. With a power based on will, I was very afraid that the final confrontation would be some boring beam of war. You know what I mean, like in Harry Potter when Harry and Voldemort had their wands locked. I was all set to see Hal shooting out a green ray against an opponent's yellow ray, while both characters grunt a lot with their strain of their willpower until Hal finally wins out. I hate that kind of scene. It's too easy to write and not very satisfying on screen. When I heard that one of the villains was a cloud-like entity, I was even more afraid. Having seen similar battles in Fantastic Four 2 and the first Hulk movie, I wasn't looking forward to such a vague battle. But the fights are actually pretty satisfying, with Hal using his powers in lots of clever ways. One of my favorite things in the movie was the lampshading of his so-called secret identity. Whenever Hal showed up with his little green mask on, I said to myself, oh, come on. There's no way they're not going to recognize him. And for once, I was right. 2 people in the movie recognized him right off, not because he intentionally revealed a secret identity to them, but simply because they're not idiots. I would love to see that in a Superman movie sometime. Anyway, I say this a lot, but I don't usually care whether a movie is bad or good as long as it's not boring. Green Lantern did not bore me. But modern audiences have higher standards than I do. If a movie isn't mind-blowingly excellent, then it sucks. People have lost the ability to rate a movie as just okay. Unfortunately, just okay movies are some of my favorites. So, anyway, I do like this movie. And if you liked this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching.